Before we begin this last deliberate practice lesson that's linked to our part 1 of the kinetic whip, I want to remind you to try to go out and buy one of these little portable tripods with a cell phone holder. With this, you can take this as your portable environment, practice environment anywhere, your bedroom, garage, backyard, park, or even out here out on the court. And then you can watch instructional videos, not just mine, but anyone, but mine in particular. And I've set it up so that you can watch the video, and then I'll give you a pause signal. You can walk over, stop the video, do your exercise, and then resume again. And so you can proceed going through a pretty complex series of practices without trying to remember what you viewed yesterday. So I highly recommend that you get this set up. Yes, and one more important message about this tripod and cell phone setup is with this, you can easily film yourself, and in order to do deliberate practice, you need to have a feedback cycle. So filming yourself at the end of this or any other practice like I'll recommend is something that we all should do from time to time anyway. So again, we need feedback, and the cell phone and this tripod is a great way to get it. Let's just recap what we've done in the previous 5 deliberate practice lessons. Typically, we start off deliberate practice without a racket in our hand because we want to eliminate the triggers that trigger old habits, and we're looking for new feels and new principles here. So we began with the wax off, wax on motion just with our hands, and we went through slowly. And again, we usually start slowly because we're really trying to become aware of the overall movement and the nuances of that movement. And then, we add a little bit more each time, the body, the hands, the speed. It keeps getting more and more complex. Then, in order to keep going and keep refining and gaining more understanding of this whip effect and how we swing the racket with that effect, I had to use the whip towel because the whip towel has no rigidity to it like a tennis racket. So you have no choice but to have a pulling motion to generate your swing. And we went through that slowly, and then I had you do some accelerated versions of that. Finally, and this is the sequence that we usually go in deliberate practice, we do pick up our racket, even if it's the shadow swing. And I reminded you, and I'll remind you again, we're going to grip the racket in the fingers of our hand along the pads here, not in the palm of our hand. This will give us the whip-like control of the racket and the looseness that we need for a pulling action. Clamping this on in your palm is guarantee you to go back to the pushing and leveraging action of the racket that we want to avoid. So in the previous lesson, we really focused on what I said was a missing piece in the topspin forehand instruction world, is where people overemphasize the first part, which is this simple unit turn. Well, we know that that doesn't really load the body or the arm or anything. We're not ready to unload unless we've loaded first. So we worked on, with the racket in shadow practice, taking Roger's famous hands drop position, the tap the dog on the head position, as the preliminary to moving into a slotted position. Only when we're in the slotted position, the arm went back, the body coiled, the back stretched, are we fully loaded. Now we're ready to unload in an inside out flowing swing, which is the whip swing. So we worked our way through that exercise previously, and now we're out on the court. And again, we've gone from basic to intermediate, sort of advanced level progressions. This is the more advanced progression, even though we're just going to drop hit the ball with this new motion. So the pros use drop hits all the time. I see it all the time when they practice, and there's no reason that recreational players shouldn't be using this more as well. So we'll go into the first drop hit series of exercises. We'll start off, the first series of exercises will be, again, shadow swings without actually hitting the ball, because these are all new swing feels that we're trying to master, and we need to go through them slowly. So we'll again start out in the pat the dog position, but this time I want you to basically just go through the whole motion, and I want you to do several repetitions slowly, having the racket momentum carry all the way around your head. And then I want you to do several more, feeling your body stretched out and loaded and coiled more as you drop and sink into the slot. And I want you to generate a little bit more speed with it, medium speed swing. So I'll stop the video now for you to do that. So we're actually here to hitting balls at this point in the sequence. So I want you to start off about the service line. Why? Because I don't want you to have to worry about clearing the net or adding power. That exercise is not this one. We're working just on the swing. And I want you to just swing slowly for several repetitions here. And I want you again to start from this pat the dog position. And I want you to just generate a smooth pulling swing, pulling with your body, pulling with your elbow. And I don't want you to think about hitting the ball. So the thought process of hitting the ball brings us into a leveraging, pushing action typically. I want you to think about a free flowing swing where the ball basically gets in the way of that swing. So we're trying to basically move right through contact. We're not trying to do anything leveraging at contact. So again, we'll start here, and it might look just something like this in going very slowly now. So you might need to hold the ball a little bit higher, about your height of your shoulders, because it takes a little bit of time to do this turn back. Otherwise you drop it down here and you're rushing. So you're up here and something like that. So I'll stop the video for you to do several of those. So on this next several repetitions, I want you to give a little bit more focus to this turn, widening and stretching this turn from the pat the dog position, tap the dog position, back into the slotted position, and really kind of feel like that racket is pivoting back and pointing to the side fence and the back fence, mostly the side fence. So in other words, we have a tendency to rush through these sequences and short circuit them. So people will start here and then they'll just go forward. I don't want you to do that. I want you to focus on this winding back and then a slow swing through. Again, thinking about the purity of the swing path intersecting the ball rather than you leveraging or pushing the action. So several repetitions now, it looks something like this, going at a slow speed again, but focusing on the pulling action of the body. So we're here again, a little bit more stretched out now, and we're going to be a little bit bigger in our motion and a little bit more pronounced with this turn back. So it might look like this. In your last 10 repetitions here today, I want you to film yourself, either with the tripod and camera set up here, or if you see someone around, try to get them to film you. And I'd like the filming to be done from behind, from the target back. So basically you're setting up the camera to shoot down this way behind the player, behind yourself actually. And the first 5, I just want you to shoot in regular speed video, but there's an option on all of these cameras now for slow motion. So I want you to film the last 5 repetitions in slow motion. We'll talk about what to do with that later. But on these last 10 repetitions, I want you to go pretty much full speed. So we're not trying to be perfect. Technique doesn't have to be perfect. We're working on the essentials of the whip swing, and we're working it from the tap the dog position. So we're trying to add body coil and pivot back into the slot as we sink in. And then we want a pulling action of the body, chest, arms, especially the hitting elbow, with the racket lagging behind on the swing circle. We want the racket to go through freely released through the swing and the contact area and have it come up all the way around. We don't want to be holding on to the racket and stopping the momentum in front of us. So we just want everything to be free and flowing. So now more at maximum speed, it might look something like this, with adding a lot more body whip into the whole equation. So it might look something like this. We're in the tap the dog position. Ball's about shoulder height as we drop, maybe even a little bit higher because we might need a little bit more time to coil our bodies. So slightly above, maybe at head level. And we're going to try to really add some force into the swing. So 10 repetitions like that. I'll stop the video. All right, this is take 3. So that brings us to the end of this lesson and this series of deliberate lessons connected to the kinetic whip overview concept. So before I leave, a word of caution. We're at the beginning stages of building a new swing. This is like we're building you a new dream house. You have your current swing as your current house. Don't try to mess with that at this point. Enjoy your social competitive tennis playing in your current house. Just know that we're working on this future dream house and that someday you're going to be able to move into it. And with that, I'll see you next time.